What's going on, guys? Welcome back. Today we're talking about Bitcoin wallets, specifically the difference between a wallet that's held at a custodian, like an exchange, and wallets where you hold your own keys, whether that's on your mobile phone or maybe a hardware wallet. Now, one of the real keys to understanding how Bitcoin wallets work is to understand how Bitcoin transactions work. And I made a whole video about how to do that. I'm not going to rehash that here, but if you haven't seen it, I would urge you to go check that out first and then come back. I'll link it right up here. And now that we understand a little bit how a Bitcoin transaction works, let's talk about Bitcoin wallets. If you're new to Bitcoin, it can be really confusing whenever you hear people talk about Bitcoin wallets. You'll hear people say, make sure to get your keys off an exchange. Don't put your Bitcoin in a hot wallet. Make sure your Bitcoin's in cold storage. What's a hot wallet? What does cold storage mean? Why is it cold? If you're still learning what these words mean, it can be a little bit overwhelming and make it confusing to understand what you need to be doing and why. So the first type of wallet we're going to talk about is a wallet held at an exchange. An exchange can be someone like Coinbase, Gemini, Cash App, and this is how most people start when it comes to Bitcoin. You usually hold some Bitcoin in the place where you bought the Bitcoin. And some of you might be thinking, well, what's wrong with just keeping it there? I keep my stocks in my brokerage account. And that's absolutely right, but with stocks, you don't even get the option to custody it yourself, whereas with Bitcoin, you do. And that's kind of the whole point of it. So anytime people say to get your Bitcoin off exchanges or to hold your own private keys, what they mean is that anytime your Bitcoin is being held by an exchange like Coinbase or Gemini or even Cash App, then you're trusting them with your Bitcoin, because they're actually the ones who hold the private keys to move your Bitcoin. Now, obviously, you have an account at Coinbase, you have an account at Gemini or Cash App, and so they're holding it on your behalf. But the whole idea of Bitcoin is that you eliminate trusted third parties and that you're able to handle your own money yourself so that no one can ever take it away from you. But anytime you trust a custodian, you're trusting them to be able to give you access to your Bitcoin whenever you want it. And for the most part, that's going to be okay. But the reason why people bring it up is that we don't have control over other factors that could impact your Bitcoin. So for example, if the government came out tomorrow and said, Bitcoin's banned in the US, no one's allowed to carry it, no one's allowed to hold it. If you had your Bitcoin stored at Coinbase or Gemini, they would have to comply with that. And they could easily shut down your account, prevent you access to your account, or maybe even prevent you access from being able to move your Bitcoin off of their exchange. Now, the question you have to ask yourself is, how big is that risk? I think right now today, it's a relatively low risk, but that's the risk you take when you trust a custodian. And that's why people always say to get your Bitcoin off of exchanges. Okay, the next type of wallet we're going to talk about is mobile wallets. So these are Bitcoin wallets where you actually are in control of your private keys, but the application actually lives on your phone. So obviously one of the advantages of having your Bitcoin on your phone is that if you're using it to transact often and you're doing like daily transactions, having it at your fingertips on your phone is great. Now, the disadvantage of having it on your phone is, again, easy access goes both ways. One, if it's you that's trying to use your Bitcoin, then clearly it's good to have it quickly available to you. But having your Bitcoin on an app on your phone also means that it's going to be online all the time or close to all the time, and it's much easier to get to than if it's stored away somewhere. There's definitely a lot of great Bitcoin mobile wallets out there. Wallets like Moon Wallet, Blue Wallet, Green Wallet. I don't know why they're all named after colors, and these wallets provide a lot of great functionality that's accessible just right there on your phone. And there's multiple ways to stay protected even if you have a Bitcoin wallet on your phone. One of them is that maybe you don't actually install the app on your main phone. You do it on a backup phone that you don't really use every day. Other things you can do is add extra security to be able to create transactions on their phone, whether that's a PIN, a Face ID, or whatever. But the great thing about mobile wallets is that it's a relatively easy next step to be able to go from trusting a custodian with your Bitcoin to be able to take control of your private keys for the first time. Pretty much everybody has a phone and understands how apps work, and these wallets have done a really good job at making their UI easy enough to understand, even for someone who's new to Bitcoin. So even if you're not ready to deal with the hardware wallet yet, taking that next step to your own Bitcoin wallet on your phone is a huge step forward in terms of you being able to custody your own Bitcoin. And just one more thing about mobile wallets. Anytime people tell you that you have your Bitcoin in a hot wallet is a wallet that is connected to the internet and ready to be transacted with. So if you have your Bitcoin on a mobile device in an application that you have on your phone, then it's basically in a hot wallet. Hot meaning it's online and connected to the internet. And lastly, let's talk about hardware wallets. Hardware wallets are actual hardware device that helps you manage your Bitcoin private keys. So the beauty of a hardware wallet is that it ensures that your Bitcoin private keys are never online unless you're ready to make a transaction and you have the actual hardware device on you. Anytime someone says, put your Bitcoin in cold storage, what they mean is put it into a cold wallet, meaning a wallet that has its private keys offline or off the internet. With the idea being that if your Bitcoin private keys are offline, then they're at less risk than if they're always online. So obviously that adds another layer of security into your Bitcoin private keys to where you actually have to have the physical device to be able to access them. Hardware wallets are going to be a little bit less convenient than a mobile wallet. And that's kind of the point. It's by design. If it makes it a little bit less convenient for you to be able to access your Bitcoin, it means it makes it less convenient for everyone else as well. So nowadays, there's quite a few Bitcoin hardware wallets that are out there. I think the three major ones kind of come from Ledger, Cold Card, and Trezor. I've used all three of those major brands. They all work well. I think my number one recommended Bitcoin hardware wallet is a Cold Card, but it is, I think, a little bit more technical than the other two. So if you're not ready for that yet, I think the Ledger Nano S Plus is probably the best option for most people who just want to take that step to a hardware wallet but aren't yet ready for the Cold Card. Now, personally, my opinion on this is most people should aim to get to a point to where they're holding their own Bitcoin keys, ideally with a hardware wallet like the Ledger Nano S Plus, or maybe a Cold Card if you're technical enough to deal with that. But I also realize that not everyone is ready for that. And there's some people who may never be ready for that, and their interaction with Bitcoin probably needs to be with a custodian. So I mentioned this before, but I would never expect my mom to hold her own private keys. Now maybe I would do it for her or something like that, but for her, having a custodian do it is a better thing. And the reason for that is she's not technical enough to handle it, and she doesn't want to handle it. She doesn't want the responsibility of holding her own private keys and potentially losing her Bitcoin because she forgot something. And the reality is that most people are at risk of losing their Bitcoin due to user error than they are about government takeover. The point is, anytime you have your Bitcoin on an exchange, like Coinbase or Gemini or Cash App, you're trusting them to hold it for you, and you're not actually holding your private keys. And if that's where you're at in your Bitcoin journey because you're just starting out, that's okay. What you want to do is learn more over time, get more comfortable over time, practice with small amounts until you're ready to take control over your Bitcoin. At the end of the day, we can talk about technicalities between all these things, but just being able to take the step from I have my Bitcoin held onto an exchange to I have my Bitcoin on a mobile wallet that I control to I have my Bitcoin into a hardware wallet is such a huge step for anyone to make that I wouldn't worry too much about the details at this point. I think over time, you'll find what works best for you and what you like best. But I think just being able to go from having to trust someone with your Bitcoin to being able to have your Bitcoin private keys offline is a huge, huge win for anybody. If you guys have any more questions about Bitcoin wallets, put them down in the comments below. If you want to watch more videos to learn more about Bitcoin, click on these videos on the end screen, and I'll see you on the next one. Peace.